Drama for Keir Starmer.
Turmoil at number 10.
Should the Prime Minister resign, Mr Healy?
With Labour MPs in open revolt, would the Prime Minister's cabinet stand by their leader?
Do you want the case to number 10, Mr Streeting?
Would Sir Keir Starmer fight or fold? For Labour, for the country, a massive moment. And as the cabinet gathered, came word of defiance from inside.
And our chief political correspondent wants to bring us some breaking news. Henry.
I have some words that the Prime Minister said at this cabinet meeting, which is unfolding right now. This is how he began the meeting. As I said yesterday, I take responsibility for these election results, and I take responsibility for delivering the change we promised.
The Prime Minister told the meeting he was staying put. The Labour Party has a process for challenging a leader, and that has not been triggered, he said. The country expects us to get on with governing. That is what I am doing and what we must do as a cabinet.
Should the Prime Minister resign?
As ministers left, loyalty for the leader. From this one.
We've had a very purposeful cabinet meeting talking about the big issues facing our economy and society. Nothing has been triggered.
And this one.
Let me just say this. There is a process to challenge the leader. No one has made that challenge.
And another.
The Prime Minister has my full support, so we all intend to get on with our jobs, and that's what I'm going to do now.
But the Prime Minister's backbench critics are furious.
What he's now done is he's laid down the gauntlets, which is how he operates. He gets very stubborn, he doesn't listen. That's why the public have stopped listening to us, and that's why they don't trust him, and that's why his likeable rate is as low as it is.
And this MP says Keir Starmer is not the man to meet this moment.
I think that he needs to lay out that transition. And, you know, he's making out like it's the ball's in everybody else's court, but there is a big ball in his court. And this is much more important than any one person or any one party. This is about the future of our country that we're talking about here.
The Prime Minister survives this morning because his cabinet didn't crack. But there is a storm of anger, division and panic in the Labour Party about what is unfolding. More than 80 Labour MPs are now urging the Prime Minister to go. Others describe this as chaos with no upside. A completely mad situation, one told me. The crucial question now, will there be a leadership challenge from Wes Streeting or Angela Rayner perhaps? The man many Labour MPs want to lead them, Andy Burnham, is currently not an MP and could not stand if a leadership contest happened quickly, complicating the calculations of rival camps. The Prime Minister entered Downing Street promising stable government and an end to chaos. This is anything but. Ben Wright, BBC News, Westminster.
I just want to emphasise how extraordinary it was standing here in Downing Street watching those cabinet ministers emerge from the building behind me giving impromptu press conferences about what had just unfolded in that cabinet meeting. I've covered 6 prime ministers, and I appreciate in this era that doesn't make me particularly long in the tooth, but I have never seen anything like it. Worth noting, some of the first cabinet ministers to come out, people like Peter Kyle, the business secretary, Liz Kendall, the science secretary, Pat McFadden, the work and pension secretary, they are ideologically and personally close to Wes Streeting. That will surely inform that big question hanging over Westminster now. What will Wes Streeting do? Will he challenge? And then from the other wing of the Prime Minister's critics, what will Andy Burnham do? The Mayor of Greater Manchester has been spotted in London today. He would like to be leader. First, he needs to become an MP. We are told by his supporters he has a plan to become an MP. The best time for him to unveil that plan was surely yesterday. Next best, surely today.
So the Prime Minister gets through today, Henry, and his main message at Cabinet was we need to get on with running the country, we need to carry on governing. That's our priority. But with this depth of division within the Labour Party, how can that possibly be the case?
That's the question, and I think that's actually, to an extent, the question the Prime Minister is posing his MPs. Worth noting that even though there are upwards of 80 MPs who have called on the Prime Minister to go, they are divided among themselves about what specifically they want to happen next. And that is a minority, sure, a large minority, but a minority of what Keir Starmer won almost 2 years ago, which is a vast parliamentary Labour Party. There are lots of Labour MPs, and they're being more vocal about it today, who want the Prime Minister to go on, not necessarily in many cases because they have great affection for him and what he's done, but because they think having a leadership contest would be preposterous. But the Prime Minister is not out of the woods yet. With his bold display of prime ministerial authority earlier today, he's put himself back in the game. But anyone who tells you how long that will last is lying.
Henry, for now, thank you. We'll be back on Downing Street soon, but for now, the Prime Minister has said he does want to get on with governing, but with more than 80 of his own MPs declaring he should go, he is under pressure. A reminder of what it would take then for there to be a change at the top of the Labour Party. Unless the leader resigns, a leadership election can only be triggered by Labour MPs. Any challenger would need the backing of 20% of their colleagues in Parliament. As things stand, that would be 81 Labour MPs who have to declare their nomination to the party's General Secretary. And at that point, nominees would need the support of 5% of constituency parties or the backing of at least 3 affiliates of the Labour Party. 2 of those would have to be trade unions. Nominees would have to be Labour MPs, which rules out potential challengers like the current Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham. And as things stand, not enough MPs are united behind a potential new leader, but backbench MPs have had plenty to say.
Keir is who people voted for. He is a very, very genuine, integral man. He's absolutely been wonderful. But we've got to a point where, you know, the toxicity in Parliament, in our politics, he just isn't cutting through. He's not cutting through on the doorstep. He's not winning over voters. We've seen the disaster that we've had in the Senedd. We've seen the disaster in Scotland. And it's about time that members of Parliament like me, Chair of the Northern Ireland Affairs Select Committee, stand up and say, look, Keir, thank you for your service. You've been the leader of the Labour Party for 6 years. It is now time to go.
I listened carefully to the speech which Keir Starmer made, and I think there were 2 things that really stood out. There was no change in the economic orthodoxy which has been driving his agenda, and secondly, the political culture he has set, which has not brought the party together, let alone our communities in the country. And at this time in our politics, it's the most important thing that a leader could do.
I think the time has now come for us to have an orderly transition to a new leader, somebody who can connect and relate to the British public, but more importantly, to deliver a radical programme of the change that people wanted.
We've got 2 globally significant wars raging that are impacting on choices around defence spending and public services, huge challenges around energy security, climate change, all of that. We've got levels of economic growth that haven't been sufficiently high for well over 15 years now. None of this is going to change if we change the person at the top of the tree. None of this is going to change just by having a new leader, a new Prime Minister.
I want him to acknowledge the fact that he will not lead us into the next general election. He says he wants to be Prime Minister for the next 10 years. I mean, that's looking at the polls, looking at what happened this time. That's not going to happen if he's leader. So what I need from him is a very clear acknowledgement of that.
He is, you know, incredibly unpopular on the doorstep, and we were having to outline a local campaign where we tried to, you know, focus in on the local, try and avoid people's frustrations with the national. And that's not sustainable as we have more elections coming up a year away from now as well. And we have to make sure we're in the best possible situation to win the political fight for our country and for our communities.
Well, political turmoil often leads to economic disruption. Let's find out what's been happening today with our economics editor, Faisal Islam. So, Faisal, talk us through what impact the drama on Downing Street has had on the markets and then how that can trickle down to all of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a bit of a cliche that the markets don't like uncertainty, and what you've been describing is the highest type of uncertainty, and there has indeed been a reaction on markets. The effective interest rate paid by the government on its debts over various years, so like a 10-year loan, for example, is the typical benchmark that we use to compare. That did shoot up by 0.1 percentage points. That's quite a notable amount for this type of debt traded in the markets, and it went up to 5.1%, higher than that actually, the highest level since the 2008 financial crisis on the 10-year, similar at other time periods. And in terms of how that sort of transposes into the real economy, that helps bid up mortgage costs for fixed-rate mortgages. We've seen some of that already, and also affects businesses, but chiefly affects the costs of interest for government. So you're seeing some of that impact as this uncertainty continues, and also in anticipation of potentially a new leadership borrowing more money.
OK, Faisal, thank you. Back to Downing Street then, and our chief political correspondent, Henry Zeffman. Henry, the Prime Minister's been to the edge. Nobody's blinked. He's come back slightly. Where on earth do they go from here?
Search me, Nina. 3 numbers for you, 1, 2 and 10. 1, that is the number of days until the King comes here to Westminster tomorrow to unveil his government's legislative agenda. Sir Keir Starmer leads the King's government for now. Will that legislative agenda survive under Sir Keir Starmer or under a new Labour leader and Prime Minister? We do not know. 2, it is not even 2 years since Rishi Sunak emerged from that building behind me in the driving rain and called a general election. Wow, how quickly things have turned for the Labour Party. And 10, next month, it is 10 years since the EU referendum, which led to the UK ultimately leaving the European Union. The political chaos which ensued in Britain shows absolutely no sign of abating.